let's start the show. MSNBC's Velshi did a really great interview recently that I'd like to highlight. He talked to abortion care workers, and it focused largely on the availability of medication abortion, which is a safe and, okay, new mic is presenting minor issue. Right. Yeah, there's going to be some bugs to work out. It's a new channel. He focused on medication abortion, which is a safe and a lot simpler, a lot less embarrassing way for people who can get pregnant to get abortions. It's particularly relevant given the current state of politics, wherein a popular scapegoat for the right are people who are seeking abortions. They are fine ruining lives in the name of pleasing a constituency that they lie to and distract with issues that they feel they can get people riled up about. Here is MSNBC's Velshi interviewing these workers. Let's listen to what he's got to say.
Joining me now, Robin Marty. She's the operations director for the West Alabama Women's Center. She's the author of the book, The New Handbook for a Post-Roe America. Also joining us is Janice Fountain, the executive director of the Yellowhammer Fund, a reproductive justice organization that serves Alabama, Mississippi, and other states in the Deep South. Good morning to both of you. Good to see you again. Thank you for being with us.
It's good to see you again, Allie.
Robin, when I was with you at your clinic, you told me that it has become very hard in your state to direct women to places that they can actually have an abortion procedure done, and that they were making it hard for you to even sort of imply and suggest to women how they would get a medicine abortion.
Yeah, that is true. And one thing that I can say is a positive outcome of the Attorney General basically threatening any pregnant person with prosecution is the fact that at our clinic, we've decided that we are no longer remaining silent about where a person can obtain an abortion. We are letting people know that there are websites like Plan B where they can go and look up information to be able to obtain medication abortion, even in states where abortion is illegal. And we are saying that that is our freedom of speech and something that we are allowed to do, despite his claim that that would be considered a conspiracy.
Denise, let me ask you about this. What did the Attorney General call it? The chemical endangerment law. This is actually a law that's not meant to be about abortion at all, but it's actually been used in Alabama to target women before.
Okay. So, again, be kind to Velshi here. I was working in the news industry when the cultural switch happened to start saying people who can get abortions as opposed to women. I got a call. No, there's not a newsletter that goes out to all progressives everywhere. A lot of times we do things culturally that we don't even think about. And I got a call from somebody asking about an abortion story. And they were correcting me over the phone. And I was like, I was just baffled by what they were saying. I couldn't fathom it. And I said, I'm pretty sure I used the right words. Yeah, women are the ones that get abortions, obviously. And then about 10 minutes later, it clicked. Oh, yeah, trans people exist. Well, so Velshi's even got a couple years on your old pal Jake. So I'm sure he's going to continue doing that slip up in this interview. And I'm also sure no harm is intended. It's an honest mistake. That said, this is a perfect example of the way the right treats people when they can get away with it. They are not interested in the intent of the law at all. They will use what rules they can to harass who they can to distract from their various corruption scandals. Both these ladies up there are quite heroic, and you need to understand they are risking legal consequences in the course of this interview. Be on the lookout for them and be prepared to go out into the street holding a sign and saying you're not happy about it if the gavel gets swung in their direction.
Oh, absolutely. And that's not something Alabama is shy to, using laws to incriminate or incarcerate people that when the law wasn't even intended for that purpose. And I really think it's necessary to point to the ways in which this state incarcerates and kills its marginalized and lower income communities. And that's definitely one of the ways that the state aims to pit people in the carceral system.
Robin, there is a distinction between when I was talking to both of you, the targeting of doctors, nurses, abortion providers, healthcare workers, and women who actually take the abortion pill or seek abortion, health, reproductive services and abortions. How important is that distinction to us? Should my viewers be understanding that this is yet another step, or is it all the same? Is it all the same thing, that whether you target doctors, nurses, healthcare workers, abortion providers, or the women themselves, it's the same thing?
Well, what's necessary for everyone to understand is that now that we are in an age of medication abortion, it is possible for a person to be able to manage their own abortion without any sort of medical intervention, any sort of assistance. A person can go to a website like aidaccess.org and get medication and have it sent directly to them, even.
Point of clarity, just the way she speaks, I keep hearing aidaccess.org. The link is in the description. It is aidaccess.org. And kudos to her for dropping that plug a bunch of times for people who might be in a desperate situation, and this is the only way out. Link is in the description. If you know somebody who is in one of these oppressive states, there is a way they can still get an abortion, even though one of their fundamental rights was revoked by the Supreme Court.
If it is illegal in the state, a person can manage their own care without letting anybody know. And if a person has a complication, they can go into a clinic like mine, or they can go to a hospital and simply say, I am pregnant, I'm having a miscarriage, and I'm scared. They don't need to let people know about their abortion. And this is terrifying for lawmakers because they've gone through and said, okay, we are never going to punish the person who is getting the abortion. But once you remove everybody else, there's no one to punish. And now that it is easy for a person to be able to do this on their own, they need someone that they can frighten, someone that they can try and threaten. Otherwise, people will just autonomously do it by themselves, as they should be able to.
And Janice, the issue.
Do bear in mind, 60 years ago, the way of doing it by themselves were the horror stories that you hear about so often. The coat hangers and bleeding out in an alley somewhere. This is this abortion pill is a safer way to run that same civil resistance, frankly. The fact that it's good that we have this medication. It's good that science once again is pulling more than its share of weight in terms of keeping us living some semblance of a civilized life. But don't make the mistake of thinking that there's nothing else wrong with this situation. The fact that we are essentially back 60 years in terms of social progress is deeply depressing. And we should not let it stand. We need successive generations of politicians to be elected who, give a damn about people who can get pregnant. It's that simple. We need to get essentially the farthest right people in office being Democrats. Republicans are doing everything they can right now to ensure that the future is Democrat and farther left. But the present, there's a lot of damage being done that we're going to have to work to undo.
Is that this does frighten people, right? When we were talking about this, not everybody follows this story every day. And if you hear from someone a lot of women have abortions that they were not planning to have, or seek abortions that they were not planning to get, and they're not fully read in on the whole thing. And if the word gets out there that you order this pill, you get this pill, you take this pill, you can go to jail, it's half the battle.
It is. And I think that's sometimes what people rely on when they're trying to scare people, right? Is that folks don't have the time to research and know this information. And like like Robin said, people will get scared, with certain things that happen after you might self-manage and might go to the hospital and say, hey, this is this thing that I've done to self-manage, not knowing that you don't have to disclose that there's nothing that looks different from if you self-manage versus having a miscarriage. I think a lot of the problem is fear, and I think that's something that we need to have the conversation about as often as possible in a way that's protected by our First Amendment, right? Because that's another thing that people are even scared to do and have the conversation in public spaces, but we have to so that people know what they can do.
So, the right using fear to control the population. These shows, I don't set out to do a theme in each stream, but maybe I should just look for the through line beforehand, because there absolutely is in every single one. In this case, it's fear and the right's relationship with it. It's spooky how comfortable Republican politicians are with just the ugliest behavior, the most despicable terrorizing of the populace that they possibly can get away with. They will not hesitate to throw a teenager in jail if she doesn't want to have a baby. She's afraid of childbirth because she's a kid herself, and she gets an abortion. Kids are smart, though. So if you're out there and you are in one of these states that thinks it's The Handmaid's Tale, or rather that thinks The Handmaid's Tale was a happy story, then aidaccess.org. Links in the description. If something does go wrong, and my understanding is that's a rarity, but if something does make you nervous, you can go to the doctor and you don't have to tell them anything more than, I'm pregnant, I think I've miscarried, I'm scared. That's it. They ask you what happened, you say nothing. Because you don't have to say anything.
That's a very interesting question, First Amendment right, because when I was in Alabama last summer, Robin and I went to her clinic, and I asked this question about what you're allowed to tell people and what you're not allowed to people as it relates to medication abortion. Let's just play a little of that, Robin.
I hate to preempt because they're about to go right into it, but I do want to jump in before they say it. When you're listening to this, understand that this woman is on here now advocating for aidaccess.org. This is the one good thing about all the horror that the right has put upon the U.S. It has forced people to stand up. Let's look at what she was saying a couple months ago.
If I walk in here and I see you, you're wearing a shirt that says medication abortion is extremely safe and effective. Mm-hmm. And I say, can I get some?
No. I can't say anything. If I were a regular person, I would say something like, a person can go to aidaccess.org and obtain medication abortion without needing a prescription and have that shipped to them regardless of whether it is a legal state or an illegal state, but that person is running a lot of risk of surveillance and should be very careful. That would be something I could say if I were a regular person. I am not a regular person, so I cannot say that to a patient. I cannot say that to anyone. Honestly, wearing this shirt is a risk, and I do it on purpose because I know that this is one way to make a conversation happen and make people think about this.
Remember, she said, I can't say that because I'm not a regular person. She's a medical professional, and these states have passed laws to target medical professionals. Why? Because it looks less bad than throwing that teenager in prison. Instead, they terrorize the doctor of that teenager. Now let's listen to what she's saying after they keep pushing.
Robin, has anything changed since that conversation you and I had in Alabama?
Yeah, we're telling people where they can go to find pills. We're not telling them explicitly that they can go to aidaccess.org. We're leading them to First Amendment protected websites that have information for them. We're letting them know that there are places that are safe places. We are letting them know that we can provide ultrasounds if they are considering an abortion. And while we can't help them have one, we can give them an ultrasound that will let them better understand their choices. Because the Attorney General has said that he is coming after pregnant people. And throughout all of this, that is who we have been trying to protect by not pushing the line. If he's coming for them anyway, then we're going to go ahead and test the lines.
And Janice, again, Robin, there's some things that Robin is constrained from telling people. Hero. Of course, we're not, so I'll tweet it out and let people know. But is this fight going to be successful? Are national organizations or regional organizations like yours able to fight back against this on a national level?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that we were optimistic about at first was maybe there would be more safety nets, right? We're waiting for those exclusions and all of those things. And when it didn't happen, I think there was that immediate realization that, okay, we're just going to have to take the risk because this is an actual death threat. This is a state with the third highest maternal mortality rate. Like, this is a state that did not expand Medicaid, but it has 900 million for prisons. So it's very necessary to mitigate the risk, but it's definitely something that we have decided is, okay, what are we going to do about this? We're going to tell people where they can go because this is life or death. It's literally life or death for folks.
I mean, when you look at history books and you see little paragraphs for the lesser known heroes in the civil rights movement, that's the kind of people they were. And that's the kind of people those two guests on Ali Velshi's show are now. They're heroes. They are risking their own well-being to help others. Don't let them stand alone. Keep your eyes open and ear listening for news of those two and for doctors in regressive states that are being harassed and targeted. In the meantime, if you are pregnant and you do not want to be, and you live in an oppressive state, you can go to aidaccess.org and get medication abortion. My understanding is it does not require any prescription. And I will tell you, as they said, if something does go wrong, if that's a concern of yours, and you want to go to a doctor and make sure you're safe, you're healthy, you can simply do so. And you do not have to tell them about the fact that you went to aid access and that you were forced to do that. I wish you luck, and I hope for better days. Continuing with the theme here, Kevin McCarthy constantly pushes lies about his political opponents. Eric Swalwell, in 2012, this is true, he had what appeared to be a Chinese spy on his campaign staff. He was informed of this, and what did he do? Exactly what the FBI asked him to do. It's not a surprise that you would have a politician infiltrated. But how that politician reacts to it is important. Eric Swalwell, textbook correct reaction. I have all kinds of beef with that guy, none regarding the supposed Chinese spy. Actually, no, I believe that person was indeed a spy. I have no issues with how he handled that situation. This is not like Maria Butina, who the right ran defense for right up until it was too embarrassing for them to keep going. Well, Kevin McCarthy has told lie after lie after lie about that. And frankly, basically anytime he opens his mouth about his political opponents. The consequences are death threats. As we saw with Nancy Pelosi's husband, sometimes people try to follow through on those death threats. That's called stochastic terrorism. Meidas Touch once again nails it. Let's have a look at, I believe this is Ben Meiselas' coverage of this particular story.
I'm Ben Meiselas from the Meidas Touch Network. In addition to being the weakest Speaker of the House, MAGA extremist Kevin McCarthy is also incredibly dangerous because he just does the most reckless things in the world, including just defaming anyone, because for him, words don't even matter. Integrity doesn't matter. In the most recent example, he was giving a press conference and he was gaslighting the press and he was saying, look, now that I'm the Speaker of the House, we're going to let all the Democrats go on whatever committees they want. And then the press pointed out, well, that's not true. You're saying that Congressman Swalwell and Congressman Schiff and Congresswoman Omar, they can't go on committees. And then McCarthy proceeded to lie about Eric Swalwell, misrepresent that he couldn't get a security clearance by the FBI, and also lie that the FBI gave some secret briefing about Eric Swalwell, which would preclude him from being on the Intelligence Committee or any other committees. Again, all completely false. Unlike Donald Trump,
Let's just pause it there for a second, just to highlight, we have the benefit of looking over VOD, just to highlight the bizarre nature of that claim. The FBI gave a secret briefing. It didn't happen, but if they had given a secret briefing, why is McCarthy talking about it? Asinine.
a bunch of these other MAGA extremists like Ron Johnson and Carter Page, and I could go on and name others who, when the FBI contacted them that they were being targeted by foreign influence operations, Eric Swalwell cooperated with the FBI, and they said he did everything right, and they did not say he couldn't get a security clearance. So just more lies, but I'll play for you a little bit later in this video what Kevin McCarthy actually said, but what I want to focus on is how these lies have real-world repercussions, because what it actually led to was Eric Swalwell getting many death threats. And one of the death threats he got was somebody by the name of Jonathan Reeser. I'm going to read for you, and I'm going to give you a trigger warning because what Jonathan Reeser said is absolutely disgusting. But before reading it, I want to give you some good news, is that Jonathan Reeser was ultimately identified in terms of where he worked for, and his employer terminated him. And it just shows that these radicalized MAGA extremists who think that this type of rhetoric that they believe, like Donald Trump and Kevin McCarthy, get away with in their own Republican echo chamber, doesn't actually work in the real world. So let me read for you the statement.
All right, so I've done it again. There we go. So I don't recall the fate of this guy, but I don't believe that there was criminal charges filed against him for making these threats. When you use intimidation to try to change policy, that is quite literally the definition of terrorism. The threat of violence to affect politics, that's terrorism. What I don't like, Ben Meiselas says it's good news. Is it good news? He says it's good news because the guy got fired. Those are the consequences. I don't give a damn. I don't care about this guy's employment. That is, I mean, at a minimum, I would hope he'd be fired. I would like to know, number one, is this guy going to have criminal charges filed against him for threatening a politician? And two, is Kevin McCarthy going to get charges filed against him for stochastic terrorism, for engaging in politics by way of sicking crazies on people? I understand we have to be very careful about our freedom of speech, but we also can't pretend like we're idiots. McCarthy can't pretend like he doesn't know what's going to happen. How many times have we had representatives out loud now share the threats they get? The threats reference lies McCarthy has told. There must be legal consequences for this. I'd appreciate it if you would tell the DOJ. Your old pal Jake's told him a few times, the link in the description. But if it's just me, that's not enough. Doesn't take a whole lot of people. But it can't just be me. Tell them you want Republicans held accountable when they engage in stochastic terrorism. Let's get the details from Ben Meiselas.
Though that Jonathan Reeser wrote, and I'll read you some of these other disgusting and despicable death threats that Eric Swalwell received, but this is what Reeser wrote. Reeser wrote, "You effing traitor loser, ha 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 ha, and you are so proud when you go to sleep every night. I hope your family is raped and murdered, and I hope you get tied to the back of a truck and drug 10,000 miles until your body is ripped to pieces, you scum. I wish I saw you in person. I'd break your effing face so fast you'd have plastic surgery and never look the same again. Try me, pussy."
Okay. Just want to be clear. I hope that's not a threat. It's just a mean thing to say to someone. So everything after that in that sentence, I don't care about. I wish I saw you in prison. Here we go. I'd break your face so fast you'd have plastic surgery. There. There's a threat. If I see you, I will do X, Y, yada, yada. And look, maybe a prosecutor looks at this and says, he says, hypothetically, I wish I saw you in prison. Okay. This is not an uncommon thing, this message. I have received these myself, working in an industry where I was utterly unknown. That's how common these are. Plenty of them cross the line into obvious threats. McCarthy's got to be held responsible. It's that simple. Because it's going to keep going until someone follows through, in which case, then the rhetoric will die down for a while. Then it'll start right back up.
Is what he says. And then Eric Swalwell posted the direct message that he received from Jonathan Reeser. And Eric Swalwell said, does anyone know Jonathan Reeser of Indiana? Why would he say and threaten to kill my family? Here's his LinkedIn. And ultimately, people were able to find Jonathan Reeser. And Jonathan Reeser worked at Patient's Choice Laboratories. He's an employee there at Patient's Choice Laboratories. They terminated him when they found out. They conducted an internal investigation very swiftly, found out that this employee said these things, and they terminated him. Here was the statement that was released by Patient's Choice Laboratories. They said, we were appalled by the recent comments made by one of our employees. We do not stand for or condone offensive or threatening behaviors. Not only do these comments violate our social media policy, but they violate our company's moral and ethical standards and will not be tolerated. After an internal investigation, the individual has been terminated, effective immediately, and is no longer affiliated with the company. Signed, Patient's Choice Laboratories.
This is not a knock on Patient's Choice Laboratories, just a statement of fact. The reason companies do this is not because they are personally offended. It's just a side note. Maybe those people were, but that's not why they did it. They do it so that when this story is reported, you must say former before job title. Former employee of Patient's Choice Laboratories, a former healthcare worker, etc., etc., etc. It's a callous world, man.
But that type of apology and that type of internal investigation will never take place in the MAGA Republican Party. The MAGA Republican Party is fueled by violence. It's fueled by the staples of fascism. It's fueled by the threats. It's fueled by the lies. It's fueled by the hate. It's fueled by the disinformation. And Eric Swalwell posted a number of others, and he explained. He goes, since Speaker McCarthy lied yesterday about me, in stark contrast to 3 FBI statements about my assistance, my family and I have been flooded with death threats. Here's the latest. Who is Austin E. Taylor? Another person who gave him death threats. And Swalwell receives these death threats all the time.
Just to give you a sense of the character of the people we're talking about, the guy's family is getting threatened. What does the family have to do with it? It's a sort of morality we're dealing with on the other side. I don't like what X person did, so I'm going to make a threat against their kids? Not only have we put up with this for way too long. By we, I mean civilized Americans. Not only have we put up with this for way too long, we cannot afford to put up with it any longer. This is becoming the American Taliban. We already have them forming armed groups. The Wolverine Watchmen were one such group. They were busted in an attempt to kidnap and kill the governor of Michigan. They were going to plant a bomb on a bridge in order to slow the police response. We cannot afford anymore to ignore this. Ben Meiselas, I'm not. This is not a criticism of his here, a criticism of him here. He's got a different kind of show, but the implication seems to be all this bad stuff, so vote left. Okay, sure. Every 2 years, you have an opportunity to move the scale slightly. In fact, it's a great video. There's like 11 minutes left of it. And while I appreciate his work, I also don't want to spoil your opportunity to watch it as well. The link is in the description. So yeah, we could vote left every 2 years and try to convince friends and family to vote for sane people every 2 years. It's a long time to keep all this in your attention span. It's a long time to make people aware of this. That requires people to be constantly engaged with politics. So that on one night in November, every 2 years, you can move the needle a little bit. That's not a practical plan, frankly. And that is not a plan that has worked very well. America has drifted farther and farther right. We've fallen behind, well behind, the rest of the world. Your standard Democrat these days would be considered center-right in just about any other country in the world. Any country we would care to visit, let me put it like that. The answer to this behavior is to treat it like it is. It's criminal behavior. If somebody had robbed a bank in your town and the police simply didn't respond, person shoots 2 tellers in the head, kills them both, while the vault is open, they run into the vault, grab all the money, and then they just go home. They don't even rush home. They just drive casually. No police stop them. What do? In fact, it's your neighbor. You saw it happen. You see them spending the money. What do? Well, you contact the authorities. That's what to do here. All that is necessary for a massive cultural change in the United States is for the right wing, for the first time in American history, to be treated the same as everybody else. That's it. For that to happen, the people in charge of enforcing laws against these people need to know that you see they are not doing it. They think you're dumb. And they think you are ignorant. They have to think both those things in order to do what they do. Because they know you hear Kevin McCarthy telling lies about Eric Swalwell, about Joe Biden, about this, that, and the other thing. They know you hear that. They don't know that you know the truth, that they are not lies. That they are lies. And that they are not doing anything about it. That has to change. You got to contact them. It's that simple. They have a form, a web form that you can fill out. You write a message to the DOJ. You want to know what specifically it is that McCarthy's engaged in? This, stochastic terrorism. Tucker Carlson, by the way, does it just about every night. He says things that he knows are A, untrue, and B, are going to get other people, are at the very minimum endangering other people. Stochastic terrorism is The public demonization of a person or group resulting in the incitement of a violent act which is statistically probable, but whose specifics cannot be predicted. For example, the lone wolf attack was apparently influenced by the rhetoric of stochastic terrorism. We arrested people for this not too long ago, when the stochastic terrorists were Muslim and they were advocating for people to join ISIS and fight the great American devil. Yeah, we arrested people for that. But if it's a Christian nationalist publicly demonizing trans people, which often results in lone wolf terrorist attacks, for example, Pulse nightclub, no action is taken. None. And at a certain point, and I don't know when it was, but we've passed it. At a certain point, it becomes our fault as well for not insisting that our Justice Department attend to the matter of justice. So, if you feel bad about that, and boy, I do, great way to feel better is to do something. What can you do? You can contact him. You can say that you want, at a minimum, an investigation into this activity. At a minimum. It is not an unreasonable... We are gaslit. Constantly gaslit. And treated like the demand not to be attacked is being a social justice warrior. First of all, you're goddamn right I'm a social justice warrior and proud of it. I think that's a cool-ass name, and I'm really into social justice. So yes, I will take that label. But we are said to be whining, or a bleeding heart is the older term they used, simply for insisting that Americans be safe in America. No more. It's got to end. We cannot put up with it anymore. I believe we could use a palate cleanser. Here's a good one. Sam Seder on the Majority Report got a call last week, and it would be sad if it's a little sad, but it's mostly hilarious, and it is from somebody who owns Tesla stock, who has it broken to him by the MR crew that he might want to let go of some of that.
I wanted to talk about Tesla. I have a large proportion of my retirement money invested in that company, and
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. It's been bad. They've gone down like over 70% in the last year or so. But I'm still up from where I bought in, and I just want. Oh,
you're up from where you bought in? Oh, good.
Because I bought in.
I don't give financial advice. All right, I don't give financial advice. But I would say, if you at this point are ahead, there's something to be said about maybe shifting into something else.
I don't know. I think the stock's on a big discount right now, and it's a good time to buy and get in. So
let me ask you a question. Why do you think that?
Well, if you look at the multiples for the price to earnings ratio, I mean, because the company is.
Ooh, man. So this is a thing I see happening a lot. Poor Sam, trying to think of what he's going to tell this guy. A lot of times when somebody has a lot of money on the table, so to speak, it's real hard to let go of the potential money, you know? It's real hard not to make that next bet when you're only able to think about, oh, but what if that little ball lands on 32 black? He said, remembering a specific time. The point being, your brain starts to come up with scenarios, all the scenarios where things could go good for you, and you can get that money, or you can get some of that money back, or yada yada yada. And in doing so, you don't devote much of your energy to thinking about what the odds are that will actually occur. That seems to be... I shouldn't laugh, because I don't know that this guy's done anything wrong at all. It's just seems to be what's occurring here, and Sam's got some rather frank news for him.
Still doing just as well as they ever have been.
Okay.
Almost as well. There's some concerns about demand, but...
Okay, well, you have some concerns about demand. But what about supply? Are there going to be... Is competition going to get more or less for Tesla going forward, would you say?
Well, in the short term, I think actually some of the competition is going to be backing off because they're afraid of the coming possible recession and reduced
buddy.
demand for electric vehicles, and the major.
So you're saying like
car
about a year out or two. Are there? Let me put it this way:
Reduced demand for electric vehicles following a major gas crisis. Also, bear in mind, Teslas, for many, prohibitively expensive. So the first time somebody comes out with a inexpensive electric vehicle, oh boy.
Are the car manufacturers...
Also, elephant in the room, Elon Musk is whether or not he actually runs anything, he's the figurehead of Tesla. Oh, buddy.
The major car manufacturers, are they ramping up their capacity to build electric cars, or staying at the same level, or diminishing?
Well, they've been dragging their feet for decades.
I agree. Right now, are they ramping up their capacity, or are they still dragging their feet?
Well, I think they're dragging their feet, and they've finally started in the last year or so. Ramping up, right?
Okay, so in other words, they're ramping up.
Yeah.
All right. Look, I don't give financial advice, but I will tell you this. Like, in an environment where you have a proprietary system for charging an electric car, and maybe it's medium term, maybe it's like sort of short to medium term, you're looking at the major industry ramping up their capacity to build cars that are going to have a universal ability to charge. I don't know, maybe there's something so unique about Teslas.
I think it's the genius leadership.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but look, you do you. But what was your? But I don't do financial advice, so let me just say good luck. But I will say this: people often say, I will say this: people say diversify, and at the very least, I would not want my retirement to be wrapped up in any one thing. But
yeah, so if you have Tesla stock, probably not a great investment to keep that for too terribly long. Yeah, that's some of the issues Tesla has been having. Number one, the control Elon Musk does exert over that company is about what you'd expect from the guy responsible for the Twitter debacle. He's pushing the automated the self-driving function of his cars well before it's ready. It has resulted in, I believe, 19 deaths. So yet another person dodging responsibility. But it resulted in a ton of crashes. It's going to continue to because he continues to push this technology before it's ready. I love the idea of self-driving cars. Can't wait for it to get here. Doesn't mean it is here. It's not. They're just not ready. Also, as Sam Seder mentioned, the technology used to charge Teslas is just like you have with an iPhone, for example, where only one kind of charger works with it. The difference being a charging station costs many thousands of dollars, and a cable charger for a phone you can get from a gas station, ironically, for like $5. Somebody who can buy an Apple also has an interest in buying all the charging stuff they need and taking that around with them. What is not likely is that a business owner is going to look at installing a charging station of either the kind that can charge all other electric cars or the kind that can charge just Teslas and say, I'm going to go with the Tesla one. It just, for that gamble Elon Musk is taking, anything going wrong would have a cascade effect. If 1 year there are less Teslas on the road, then the next year there's going to be less charging stations built for Tesla as opposed to competitors. And then that will mean that the next year people drive around and are like, oh, I don't want to buy a Tesla though. There's only that one station in town where I can do it, where I can charge it up, or I can only do it at my own home, etc., etc., etc. It cascades. It's not smart. I feel bad for that caller. Good news is, as they said, they're still ahead with their investment. Now would be a great time to jump out. If the person that called into the Majority Report happens to be a fan of this show, I concur with Sam Seder's non-advice to you. And I will also stress that I am not a financial advisor. But as an opinion guy on the internet, my opinion is, ooh, that's a risky investment. Just based off of the memes mocking Musk. Well, thank you for joining me today. We've got a new microphone. I don't even know if the VOD is going to go up for this particular stream. If it does, hi, future people. And we're gonna keep on rising. Thank you so much we passed the 1,000 subscriber mark. What a thrill that was. I get up every day now just so excited to see what growth has happened. I'm gonna keep making content. I hope you'll keep joining me. If you did enjoy this and you're new to the channel, I hope you'll consider dropping certainly a like and maybe even subscribing to get a little more from your old pal Jake. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do.